My sister clinked her glass and laughed. Verity still plays courtroom on Zoom. Be nice to her. And her fiancé turned to me, went the color of printer paper, and said, "You're the judge?" Forks stopped. The DJ's playlist stuttered. We were at their engagement party in a River North loft with a neon H+E sign buzzing over the bar, and suddenly my own name sounded like a siren. I held his stare. Yes. If this kind of family mess feels familiar, like, share, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. I read the comments, and sometimes they're the only thing that keeps someone steady. Evan didn't blink. As in Judge Verity Hale? I nodded once. My sister Harper rolled her eyes. Relax, she's basically traffic court. I set down my water. Administrative law, licensing board. Evan's smile tried to come back and failed. State licensing board. For contractors? His voice dropped on the last word. Among others, I said. He looked over my shoulder, like a man checking exits, then back at me. Monday at 9 a.m., hearing room B. Are you on that calendar? The room kept being loud around us, ice in glasses, a cousin laughing too big, but all I could hear was the exact hearing time he shouldn't have known unless he'd read the notice. Harper smirked. He owns a renovation company, big deal. Evan's jaw worked. I thought your last name was just familiar. He tapped the table with one finger, once, twice. Hale, right. I kept my face still. I can't discuss cases. He swallowed. Even if it's a mix-up? Harper leaned in, sweet and cruel. Verity loves rules. She sleeps with the statute book. I turned to her. I'm happy you're engaged. Then to Evan. If your name is on any matter before the board, I will disclose and recuse. That's the rule. He should have relaxed at that. He didn't. Recuse? Harper repeated like it was a joke. Why? Afraid I'll accuse you of favoritism? Evan's hand trembled as he reached for his phone. Excuse me, he muttered, stepping away toward the balcony. Harper watched him go, confusion nibbling at the edges of her grin. Drama king, she said, but softer now. I pulled my napkin into a neat square. What did he tell you about his license? She laughed. That he's gold! No flags, no fines. Why? I looked at the balcony door where Evan was already pacing, phone to his ear, the city lights cutting his face in stripes. Because people who are gold don't turn white when they hear a room number. Harper's smile faltered. Verity, don't start. I stood. I'm not starting. I'm about to follow a rule. My phone buzzed just then with a calendar alert I'd set weeks ago. Monday, 8:30 a.m., conflict check. Because I always do. I silenced it and met her eyes. If he's on my docket, I'll recuse. If he's hiding something, you'll hear it anyway. Behind the glass, Evan ended his call and looked straight at me like he'd decided something. He walked back fast, voice low. Could we talk? Alone? We stepped onto the balcony where the air smelled like rain and hot asphalt, and Evan said without preface, If Monday says Redwood build, that's me. I kept my hands on the rail. If your company is on the calendar, I'll disclose and recuse. That's the only thing I can do. He shook his head. Not just recuse. Ask for a continuance. I watched his throat move. He looked past me at the skyline. Paperwork issues. My qualifier left. I let the silence sit. He filled it. It's legal, I asked. His eyes flicked to the party inside, then back. H. He said it fast like a Band-Aid. The name hit me like a cold elevator drop. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. He tried a smile that didn't land. It's just on the vendor profile while we fix the paperwork, I said. He spread his hands. We uploaded a W-9. She has an EIN, right? My stomach went tight. My sister's business was an Instagram with mood boards. Evan, that W-9 uses a social, He stepped closer, voice low. Then help me. I stared at him until he looked away. Monday I will recuse, and tonight I will email counsel that a family member's name appears in the file so someone else can look. He swallowed hard. I went back inside. Harper caught my sleeve near the dessert table. I didn't raise my voice. He asked me to make the hearing vanish. I said no, and he used H. She laughed, then stopped when she saw I wasn't joking. She read it, blinked, and her skin went sallow. Behind us, Evan reappeared, smile back on like a mask. He said too brightly. Harper held the phone up. His eyes flicked right, left. "We talked about building credit together," he said. "I never said yes," she whispered. The DJ turned the volume up and people clapped for no reason, like noise could fix a crack. My phone buzzed in my palm. An email from board counsel. Noted, potential conflict. File indicates H. Hale Interiors listed as qualifier on Redwood build license. I looked at my sister. "You're about to hear more than a joke in front of your friends," I said. I walked into the building, filed my disclosure, and recused. Counsel replied in 2 minutes. "Accepted. Redwood build reassigned to Judge Collins at 10 o'clock, room C." I sat in a break room on a too-cold chair while the calendar ticked, phone face down so I wouldn't be tempted to peek. At 9:41, Harper texted, no emojis this time. He says it's fine. Before I could answer, a second text landed. A screenshot from her email. "Welcome to the IRS online portal." And my throat went dry. At 10:06, counsel called. "You're not on this case, but you should know as a courtesy. The file shows H, Harper's last 4. Through the glass, I saw 2 investigators walk past toward room C, in suits that meant business, and I pressed my palms flat on the table to keep from opening the door. At 10:19, Harper arrived, eyes red, her phone vibrating non-stop. She opened a letter from 2 months ago she never understood. "We adjusted your return." She looked at me like a child on ice. My phone buzzed. Counsel again, voice low. Hearing just paused. "Redwood's qualifier is missing, the EIN is fake, and there's a vendor entry with your sister's name. Judge Collins issued an interim suspension effective now." Harper's hands shook. "He used my name to pull permits," she said, the words finding shape as she said them. "He took a corporate card." The elevator dinged, and Evan stepped out with his lawyer, scanning for us. He spotted Harper and lifted a hand like a plea. Harper stood so fast her chair skittered. "You already signed for me," she said, voice flat, and the shock on his face wasn't surprise. It was fear that the room had finally learned his trick. Judge Collins's door opened, and 2 investigators stepped out. "Ms." one said to Harper. Evan's lawyer tried to wedge in, but counsel shook his head. "We need Ms." Inside a small conference room, they laid out a printout with her name. "Did you authorize H?" "No," Harper said, voice thin. The agent pointed to the e-signature trail. Timestamp, device ID, IP from Evan's office, and a driver's license scan that wasn't hers. Harper handed over her license. The investigator compared signatures, then nodded. We stepped back into the hall where Evan waited, jaw tight. "They're trying to ruin me," he hissed. She slid off the ring and set it in his palm. He glanced at his lawyer. "We're done," she said, and walked toward the elevators with me. Evan called after us, grasping at softer words. "Harper, please." Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. My phone buzzed, counsel again. "FYI, City just flagged 2 jobs pulled under H. Clients will be contacted." When we reached the lobby, Harper stopped, like the floor had finally stopped moving. "Freeze credit at all 3 bureaus," I said. "Form 14039 with IRS, FTC identity theft report. New EIN if you start any real business." She nodded, then surprised both of us. "Yes," I said. On the sidewalk, Evan and his lawyer pushed through the doors, then pulled up short at 2 city investigators waiting by the curb. They didn't touch him, they just handed him a notice. He read it and went the color he'd been at the party. "Hearing set," one said. Evan looked at Harper like a bet that didn't cash out. She met his eyes. M, a homeowner with dust in his voice, called Harper's phone because the permit listed H. Hale Interiors as the qualifier on his kitchen remodel. He thought she ran Redwood. We sat at Mom's table with the notice open on my screen, while Harper told the man the same line she'd been learning to say all morning. "That's identity theft. File a complaint and the board will call you back." And then Mom finally stopped defending the party joke and started listening. Counsel emailed me, CC'd to Harper. FYI only, Redwood's prior qualifier license expired last year. The one before that died in 2019. Current record shows H. Hale Interiors uploaded 6 weeks ago. Harper read it, then scrolled through her credit report and went white at a line we hadn't seen. City Vendor Registration, WBE Preference, H. Evan hadn't just used her name. He'd ticked a box for woman owned to win a bid. M. The city investigator called to confirm it. We flagged the WBE claim, we'll need Ms. At 11:40, the crew lead from Kinsey called her too. We just got pulled, he told us you shut it down. And Harper put him on speaker and said steady, "The judge isn't my sister anymore on this. She recused. The board and city shut it down." We took Mom to the bureau at 1:03 so Harper could freeze her credit in person, then to the police station for the identity theft report. The officer stamped the form at 2:11 and handed her a packet titled Next Steps. On the way out, Evan was waiting by the curb without the lawyer, hands open like peace. He tried again. She slid her engagement ring toward him across the hood of a parked car like she was pushing back a tide. "Paperwork is what you drown in when truth shows up," she said, and we walked away while he stood there holding a circle that meant nothing now. 6 weeks later, the order came down. Redwood Build's license revoked, $60,000 in civil penalties, permits void, and a 5-year ban from applying for city work. The WBE claim using H. Hale Interiors was referred to the AG. Dwyer's license number was restored to his record. The Kinsey homeowner got a fast-track permit, and Harper received 2 letters the same day. IRS accepted her identity theft affidavit, 1099 canceled, balance adjusted to $0, and the board cleared her as a victim, not a vendor. Evan took a no-contest deal on misdemeanor filing fraud and watched the crews he kept naming in every excuse take jobs under real licenses. That night, Harper and I ate diner pie on the hood of my car outside the courthouse. She turned her phone face down and said, "I teased you for loving rules." I shrugged. "Rules kept your name yours." She nodded, slipped the last piece of the neon H+E into a trash bag, and asked if I'd come to her first legit permit class. I said yes. In the end, the joke that started in a room full of people ended in a room full of paper, and that's where we won.